everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's really great to have you here. One of the questions that I've been asked a lot when dealing with any type of significant change, grief, loss, even like achievement, you know, the question that I've gotten is, what do I do now? And that brings up a really great point. There's a lot of things that will bring forth that question. You know, what do I do now? Like I said, even achievement. Even when you've achieved something that you've been working for, a lot of times the question is, great, I got it. Now what do I do? Now, the thing about that question, though, is that stems from identifying with something. You know, you identify, like I said before, I am a survivor, yes, but that's not all I am. And I try not to identify myself with a survivor, you know, because in a sense, I've always felt like that puts me into a box. And if that box is broken or questioned or something like that, it would often send me into, you know, a defense mode. And so, after surviving what I have survived, you know, I had the exact same question of, well, what do I do now? You know, because I've already survived all of this stuff. So, you know, what's my purpose? Or when Greg passed away, I had identified myself with being a wife and a mother and, you know, being essentially the caretaker of the family. And so when he passed away, that question hit me again. Now what do I do? You know, I didn't feel like I was me anymore because I had identified so strongly with that. It hurt. And I felt so lost and confused and, you know, so, you know, it's kind of like when you know, well, like I've told people before, like when you break a bone or something like that, and people are just like, I can't sit still, I feel like I need to be doing something, and it's like, but you are doing something. You're healing. You're readjusting. And sometimes that job alone is very hard, you know, because especially with everything that we in this community especially are healing from, it's a tremendous amount of work. Now, Carl Jung had talked about shadow integration and such, you know, where you take a look at the darkest parts of yourself, you know, because as much as we try to deny them, they are there. You know, I realize that I am capable of just about as much manipulation as my biological sperm donor, as I call him, Jim. I have that ability. And one of the things that Greg had talked to me about before he passed away actually is pretty similar to what Carl Jung was talking about. You know, as far as he was afraid of himself sometimes because he knew how to fight. He did MMA for 10 years. And he knew how to fight well. He knew how to shoot well. He knew how to use weapons. We would tease him sometimes and be like, what do you think, you're Batman or something? Wait, you are Batman, aren't you? But, you know, he actually was afraid of himself sometimes. He was afraid of the damage that he could inflict on someone. You know, and accepting that part of himself brought him a lot of great peace. You know, accepting and understanding that just because he could do something doesn't mean he needed to. You know, there was a time that he chased a shoplifter when we were both working at the Family Dollar together off of 48th and Pecos. He chased a shoplifter into, like, all the way across the parking lot. And when he caught up with him, the guy turned around and stuck his hands in his pockets. Now, anybody who's, you know, done security or even watched, like, the shows and stuff like that, that's not a good thing to do, especially when you've got security chasing you, because we don't know what's in your pocket. You know, it could have been something that could harm us or something like that. So Greg, you know, was still running at him and met him with a punch and wound up literally knocking him out of his shoes. And at first he was almost afraid that he had, like, really hurt him. So he took the time to make sure that he was okay, other than, you know, being hit. But he made sure to take the time to make sure that he was okay, and grabbed the things that he had shoplifted and, you know, carried him back to the store. But I heard, days after that, I heard, that sounded like a gunshot. I thought somebody had been shot or something like that. And a few days after, Greg had come to me and told me that he was going to, like, elbow the guy, but he was honestly afraid of, like, hurting him even more than he actually did. And, you know, but that's shadow integration. That is taking a look at yourself and realizing what, you know, that you are capable of the things that you're afraid of, honestly. Accepting it is shadow integration, actually. Accepting the parts of you that, you know, may not be all bright and shiny and, like, you know, society would expect or hope for. You know, a lot of it, that's just like with addiction. You know, the first step to healing is actually accepting the fact that you've got a problem. And sometimes that's the hardest thing to do. And that is one thing that many narcissists are unable to do, is accepting the parts of them that aren't, I don't want to say wrong, but not necessarily good for them and other people around them. It is very hard for a narcissist to take accountability for things, because that would be admitting that they did something, you know, quote unquote wrong. And that's not something that they're able to do, because they have this image in their mind of, you know, who they are, and they're good, and if something bad happens to them, it's everybody else's fault. And unfortunately, that's the thing that kind of gets me, is that means that you're a victim. You know, if you are allowing things to happen to you instead of, you know, accepting that life is going to have its ups and downs, essentially you're putting yourself in victimhood. And that's a very scary place to be, because it means you have no influence on what's going to happen in your life. So, I mean, accepting the fact that people make mistakes, you're going to make mistakes in life. And those are learning opportunities. Those are things that you can learn from if you can accept them. But you don't want to identify with that, with the mistakes and things like that. Don't put yourself in the box. Don't put yourself, you can say, I am an addict. I usually tell people I am a former meth addict, but that's not who I am. Yes, I was addicted to something. I made a mistake. And I'm learning from that mistake. And I'm actually helping other people learn from that mistake as well, by accepting that I made a mistake, So when you have that question of, what do I do now? You are doing something. You are healing. You are accepting. You are doing something great. And just keep moving forward from there. Listen to yourself. What do you need now? What do you need to heal? What do you need to keep going? What do you need to rise higher? Become a better version of yourself. And sometimes, the funny thing about that, sometimes the answer to that question is nothing. Sometimes doing nothing is the best thing that you can do for yourself. Just stop, listen to yourself, take a breath, reflect, think about the things that you've survived, think about the things that you've achieved, and feel the pride, feel the pain, feel the feelings, express them. Be you. Just you. You don't have to be, your job. You don't have to be, your intelligence level. You don't have to be your addiction. You don't have to be your mistakes. All of that, is a part of you. All these tiny little different parts are what makes up the puzzle of you. Like I tell people a lot, you are not one side of the coin or the other. You are the entirety of the coin itself. So, if you like my style, if you're resonating with me, which I really hope you are, like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you later. Have a good night. And Happy New Year again.